Hello, I'm Lisa Montelione. I'm from Tampa City Council. I'm the member representing District 7, and you're watching Tampa Bay Community Network.
Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government, and we have City Councilwoman Lisa Montelione. How are you today?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me. I'm so happy to be here.
You're District 7, right?
Yes, I am, District 7.
Would you describe for me, Lisa, if you don't mind me calling you Lisa?
No, that's quite all right.
Would you describe for me the area that District 7 takes in?
Sure. District 7 is in the city of Tampa. It runs from the Temple Terrace City line on the east, on the west Armenia, on the south Bush Boulevard. It includes, I think, literally 15 streets in Sulphur Springs, which is south of Bush Boulevard.
Okay.
And I'll explain the reason for that in a minute. But basically, Bush Boulevard, the 15 streets south of Bush Boulevard in Sulphur Springs, to Fowler Avenue. It includes the University of South Florida complex, so USF,
Oh, you have USF?
USF, Moffitt Cancer Center, All Children's Hospital.
Wow.
A portion of Fletcher Avenue, I call it the dog leg because of the shape of the district. A portion of Fletcher Avenue that runs from behind the university to the Temple Terrace City line. And then all of Tampa Palms and all of New Tampa, except for Pebble Creek, because they didn't want to be annexed into the city back in the day when the annexation happened, I think in the 80s. The reason that there's only a few streets in Sulphur Springs in my district is because after the 2010 census occurred and the information was distilled in 2011, when I ran for office in 2011, there were over 90,000 citizens in my district. I think it was 91,700 and change. The next closest district council member only had about 85,000 people in his district. They like to keep the districts fairly even in population, so the Planning Commission with the Supervisor of Elections Office mapped out different district lines in order to bring us all within a 0.1 tolerance percentage of each other. So I lost all of the, most all of the Sulphur Springs area.
You got to keep 15
I
streets.
got to keep those streets because the Florida legislature passed a law a few years back that says you can't divide voting precincts.
Oh, okay.
And for some reason, that's the only voting district that actually jumps Bush Boulevard. So part of it is north of Bush Boulevard and part of it is south of Bush Boulevard. That's the reason that I have those streets. But Temple Crest also used to be part of my district. That's the area of 40th Street around the Hillsborough River. I lost that portion as well, and I lost a little bit of Bush Boulevard by Armenia to District 6. So.
You have a lot of areas that are really, I think, extremely important to the growth of Tampa.
Yes, the fastest growing area is still New Tampa. It's the only place where there is still wide open land that was slated to be developed quite some time ago. There's a community called K-Bar Ranch, which I'm limited in speaking about because they are currently in application for revision to their development agreement.
Okay.
So that's a quasi-judicial proceeding, and we are not allowed to speak out of the confines of the hearing about that case. But K-Bar Ranch is on the Pasco County line, and you can check the maps and you'll see that there's not a lot of streets up there right now, but there are plans for a lot of homes. So.
Well, not only just for growth, but I'm thinking that things like Moffitt and these various centers that are up there, USF, all of these are drivers of our economy.
This area, the one that we're sitting in right now, because you're broadcasting from the University Square Mall, is the third largest employment center in all of Hillsborough County, behind downtown and West Shore.
Really?
So it is important for the economic development and for jobs for a lot of people, not only who are residents of Hillsborough County, but people come from Pasco County, they come from Pinellas County, they come from, Polk County to work here because of the nature of the largeness and the scope of work that Moffett does and that the university does. And considering just across the street from my district lines is Florida Hospital and the James A. Haley Veterans Hospital.
Yeah, I was wondering whether you jumped that street.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't.
There's an overpass even.
It's funny because when you're driving up Bruce B. Downs, if you're starting on 30th Street, right, you continue past Bush Boulevard, you're still on the city, you get to Fowler Avenue. For the first 250 feet on the north side of Fowler Avenue, you are still in the district, you're still in the city.
Okay.
Once you pass that, you are not.
Oh, really?
You're not back in the city again until you get just past the little shopping center, or there's more restaurants in there than shops, where Acropolis and Mr. Dunderbox is on Bruce B. Downs.
Huh.
Just on the other side of that is the Tampa City line again.
Now,
so there's a certain
University
portion of
Mall,
Bruce B. Downs that is not.
The University Mall, is it in Tampa then?
The mall itself is not.
Oh.
The first 250 feet of the parking lot is. So if you're sitting in the Chili's, you're in the city of Tampa.
Okay.
But if your car is parked behind the Chili's, your car is not.
I had no idea.
Yes.
I keep telling you have to drive to Tampa to the University Mall.
Well, I mean, many parts of Hillsborough County are considered Tampa for a postal address. Many parts of the city of Temple Terrace and the city of Tampa all share the 33617 zip code. My house is in the 33617 zip code, which most people, when they hear that, they think, oh, you live in Temple Terrace. And I say, no, Temple Terrace has their own government. I wouldn't be able to be elected in the city of Tampa if I lived in Temple Terrace. But I'm very close to the Temple Terrace line. But it is very confusing, and there's a lot of maps and a lot of different lines for jurisdictions. The state house districts, the state senate districts, the congressional districts, the city council districts, the Hillsborough County districts. All these things overlap. So it's sometimes when you're running for office, you actually have to run somebody's address to see if they're in my district or if they're not in my district. I have to check the address because one side of the street might be and the other side of the street might not.
I find Tampa somewhat confusing because there's all these new Tampa, Carrollwood, all these little subdivisions of Tampa.
Well, just be thankful they all don't have their own governments, because in Pinellas County, there's something like 38 different municipalities within Pinellas County, because every beach town is its own city with its own government. In Hillsborough County, we only have 3, the city of Tampa, the city of Temple Terrace, and the city of Plant City.
Dayton, Ohio is ringed by 19 little cities. They all have their own school boards. They all have their own police chiefs. All this duplication is horrible.
Well, I lived in Florida for 30 years. I've lived in this area for 30 years, 15 of it in Temple Terrace and now 15 of it in the city of Tampa. And where I came from Long Island, everything was a township. So you could, the town that I lived in was only 1 mile square. And we had our own government, we had our own city hall, we had our own clerk, we had our own mayor, we had our own police. So I think eventually, though, the police went away, and Nassau County, which is the county it was in.
That's what I think is so smart here.
Took over.
So much of it is county, period. I live in the mythical kingdom of Sun City.
Yeah.
It's just
because
geographic
city is
error
in
on
the name.
Yeah, right.
Right. It gives a misinformation. And that's a little bit about what I wanted to talk to you about today, if it's okay with you.
Sure. It's your 30 minutes.
Is how people need to get involved in their local government, whether you're in the county, whether you're in the city, or any one of the 3 cities, because it's just so important to be educated to the decisions that elected officials are making that affect your life.
It just plain exasperates me. I have not missed an election in all these years. From the time I turned 21, any election I could vote in, I voted. Sometimes absentee, and more often than not, that's the way it was because I traveled. But I can't imagine what I'm seeing here in Tampa.
It's not just here, it's in a lot of places.
Nationally, the midterms were 36% turnout.
Yeah.
36% nationally, and one side won a group of seats, and they're saying it's a landslide. Well, half of 36 is what?
Right, I know. There's a lot of reasons for voter apathy. I can speak about some of the reasons in my district. When I ran in 2011, it was a contested mayoral race. Right. Lot of press, a lot of news coverage, very big personalities in the mayoral race. So it wasn't like there was a quiet little election going on. And I think only 26% of the voting population, those who are eligible to vote, voted in that race.
There was no more than that.
So that means that the mayor and all 3 city council members who ran citywide were only elected by some margin less than 26% because their opponents got some of the vote.
Some of the vote.
In
but if
my
they got
district,
at least 14%, they had it for lock.
Well, funny you should mention 14% because that was the percentage of people who voted in my race in District 7.
Really?
Yes.
For you or for overall?
Overall.
Whoa. So you only had to get 8%.
And I had 91,000 and change citizens, not all of them registered to vote.
Right.
But of that many people, only 14%, a lesser number is registered to vote,
right.
and then only 14% of those registered voters showed up. And people can speculate as to reason. I think that when elected officials don't reach out and involve the public in what they're doing, the public doesn't feel like they're part of government. The public has a lot of things going on in their lives. And you think about 2011, we were in a recession, people were losing their jobs, foreclosures were happening, and people were surprised on council when we got a report from our director of business, and neighborhoods, code enforcement, neighborhood enhancement, that the majority of foreclosures that were going on in those years, in 2011, 2012, 2013, were in my district. Because people were in New Tampa, Tampa Palms, and all of the other subdivisions who possibly had gotten in over their heads. So most of the foreclosures were happening in District 7. So now you have that group of people who are in turmoil. Is voting like really the top priority of on their list?
It should be, but it's not.
It should be,
yes.
But they have a lot going on. Add to that kids and, looking for jobs and, trying to pay your bills and trying to just conduct your daily life. So that's part of the reason. I think also, and I'm speculating here, I haven't done any scientific research on this, that some of it had to do with the fact that a lot of the people who live in my district are here because of their jobs, which some of the employees we spoke about earlier.
Yes, exactly.
They're visiting professors at USF. They're physicians who were recruited by Moffitt Cancer Center to move here from any part of the world, not just the United States, but we have people from many parts of Europe and the Middle East and from Asia who come here to work at the premier cancer center, Cancer Institute in the world. And the same thing with the James A. Haley Hospital. We have a lot of veterans who come here who necessarily weren't born here. They may be attached to MacDill Air Force Base, or they may stay here after they are discharged from the Veterans Hospital. So we have a lot of people who perhaps did not grow up in New Tampa or Tampa Palms. Tampa Palms and Hunters Green are just passing their 25th, 26th, 27th anniversary of being established. I think I went to Hunters Green 25th anniversary a couple of years ago. So it would put them, 26, 27. That's not a lot of time for people to develop a sense of community and feeling a part of the city. A lot of them don't ever get to downtown Tampa. I was really happy when the flyover bridge, it's not even a bridge, it's the entrance from Bruce B. Downs onto 75 was built as an elevated ramp. And I was really happy because when you're on that ramp, you can see the skyline of the city of Tampa. And it reminds
never been on that ramp.
people, you have to go. It's a beautiful view. You can't like stop and linger
stop
over
and
the
watch,
beautiful
huh?
view, but it just is a reminder that you are close to the city of Tampa and you are a part of it. So in the time that I've been elected, I've worked really, really hard to do a lot of outreach. I show up whenever someone invites me, and sometimes even when they don't, I show up anyway. I've gotten involved in the Rotary Club of New Tampa. They made me an honorary member. I don't want to touch the microphone, but I'm wearing my Rotary pin.
Very good.
I was even named a Paul Harris
You
Fellow.
got another pin on there.
That's my City of Tampa,
pin.
pin. Okay. I was made a Paul Harris Fellow. For Rotarians who know what a Paul Harris Fellow is, I was very honored and humbled to receive that award and be recognized for the work that I do. I've got 3 Facebook pages. I've got a Twitter account. I have a newsletter that I send out because it's all about empowering people. It's all about getting individuals to know how to access government and how to get in touch with me or anybody else. If you have a pothole, if you have a noisy neighbor, if you have a noisy barking dog, I happen to have one behind my house now. I have dogs of my own. I rescue dogs, so.
Oh, okay.
So the one that's the yappy dog that's behind my house now makes them all bark.
No.
You know, who do you call? You know, I may not be able to do something immediately for you, but I can tell you who to get in touch with.
And staff is good about that too. I've talked with a lot of the staff down there. Your
They're
staff
very
member,
conscientious.
CJ is great. Mary's
Right,
great.
right.
All of them, I shouldn't start naming them because
Right.
they're all great.
Yeah, and they work very hard, and they're very dedicated to what they do. I mean, contrary to what people may think of government, all of us at the City of Tampa, all of us, I used to work for Hillsborough County, and I can tell you that in local government, they're the ones who are listening. People tend to lump all elected officials together, that they're all the same. Well, I explain it to people like this. You only hear about a few of the national politicians, or even in states, our own state included, New York State comes to mind, New Jersey comes to mind, of politicians who have done the wrong thing and have paid the price for it. But if you add up across the country how many townships there are, like we talked about earlier, how many villages, how many incorporated cities, how many water districts, because those are elected positions, and you add up across the country how many people are actually serving as elected officials, and then look at the number of ones that make the news. It's, again, no scientific
Minuscule,
research.
sure.
It's minuscule.
Yeah.
It's minuscule. So it really gets to me when people characterize politicians as being all the same.
Well, I think another thing that people have a misconception that all politicians are wealthy.
Yes.
But that's not true at all.
No, it's not. No, it's not. And we talked a little bit about that before the show started. Some of us have jobs outside of city council. You have to have an employer who is very understanding.
Very.
Because
yes. Or work for yourself.
Or work for yourself, because the city takes up a lot of time. We're considered by our salary range to be part-time. If you compare our salary range to Hillsborough County Commissioner's salary range, we make less than half that they do. Because it was never contemplated, I guess, the city would be this large and this complicated and have that much money in our budget when the charter was first established. And, you know, I make a decent salary, but sometimes the expenses that you have, because I get invited to a lot of dinners that aren't covered necessarily by
Yes.
my budget. I have a $2,000 budget in my city office, and that's for everything. It pays for my cell phone. It pays if my charger breaks and I have to go buy a new charger. I use my budget for that. If I subscribe to a newspaper, it comes out of my budget. So all of these normal expenses you have for running an office all come out of my city council budget.
Just out of curiosity, if you're asked to go to Sons of Italy's party, can they comp you? Is there?
Yes.
What's the situation with the city of Tampa?
The ethics
that
rule
sort of
is
thing?
$100. As long as the ticket to the event is less than $100, then there's no problem in accepting that gift
Okay.
of a seat at a dinner or a luncheon or something like that. We attend, for instance, like Visit Tampa Bay, our tourism luncheon every year. They have an annual luncheon, it's very large. We are comped by Visit Tampa Bay to go to that luncheon because they want to show all of their partners, you know, all the tourist agencies and all of the hotels and the restaurants and all of their members, because it is a membership organization. They want to show that they have support from the city of Tampa. And, you know, it's not a lot of money. If anything, if we're given a gift that's over $100, you can either report the difference between 100 and whatever the gift was, or you can pay the difference.
You know, I understand there has to be some limits because some people would just abuse it badly.
Right.
But given there are so many places you need to show up.
Is there something that would benefit the person who is inviting you as a decision on Tampa City Council? Well, in the 4 years that I've been on Tampa City Council, we have not voted for anything that had to do measurably with Raymond James Stadium, where, you know, the Buccaneers play. There may have been contracts to refurbish, you know, a locker room, or, you know, something we did at the Tampa Convention Center recently was there's a contract to replace the elevators and the escalators, but we haven't done anything big, and it's rare that anything comes to us for approval. So that's, you know, kind of the difference is, you know, are these people going to be asking you for something? And what are you going to say when they come calling? And most people know by watching me on city council is I vote given the facts. If it's a good thing, and I think it'll benefit the city of Tampa, and I think it'll benefit my district, and I think it'll benefit the citizens, and you can make a case for my voting in session, during the hearing, while you're on camera, great. If you can't, and there was an example of this just recently, that I voted no. I was the only one to vote no, because I didn't think that it was fair to all nonprofits that operate within the city of Tampa to be giving space in a building that we own for free to a nonprofit agency.
I fully agree with you. And we live in a great hypocrisy in my mind. During the last presidential election, one man gave $35 million to one of the candidates.
That's a lot of money.
$35 million. But see, that was a campaign donation.
Right.
It wasn't a bribe.
Well, I got to tell you.
Seems to me that we've got our priorities well out of whack. Couldn't take him on his airplane to go hunting, which would maybe cost a couple of thousand, but he can give him $35 million as a campaign donation, and that's perfectly all right.
Right. Well, you know, it is somewhat difficult as an elected official to win an election without raising money.
Without a doubt. And it's getting worse.
Even in the races that we run here in the city of Tampa that are small and have low turnouts, you still have to mail people postcards. One postcard for as large a district as I have, just one, is in the thousands of dollars.
Oh, easy, certainly.
And you know there's more than one that goes out during an election cycle. So you're looking at tens of thousands of dollars just for postcard mailings. You know, then there's campaign staff. You need to have someone to work with you.
But only because the other side has all of that.
Well,
and if the other side didn't have the money to do it, if the other side didn't have the money to send out four anti so-and-so posters, maybe we'd have to stay closer to the facts, and it's a whole different thing.
But how do you get your message out if you don't? It's not a matter of you have to do it because the other side is doing it. You have to do it, otherwise people don't know what name and what box to check on the ballot. They don't know what you stand for.
I
They don't know
remember-
the issues.
I remember a time when people actually went and knocked on doors.
We still do that. We still do that. And
And
it
had-
costs money to
yeah,
do that too, because
that's
when you
true.
knock on the door, you have to hand them a pamphlet. So when your door knocker leaves, there's something that they can look at and say, oh, you know, and they could read it and learn more about you. So
I
those
voted
costs.
I voted for one guy last time because his mother knocked on the door and liked him.
That's right.
Figured this old lady would go door to door for
Yeah,
him.
door
Maybe
knocking-
he just needed a job. I don't know.
Door knocking is a big part of it. I mean, it really is, because it's getting out and reaching the voters. But even when you door knock, right, there's T-shirts that people are wearing with your name on them, so that people recognize
Oh,
the
yeah.
logo and they see the name. So those cost money. The pamphlet that you're leaving them with costs money. The people that are working with you on the campaign, they're volunteers and they're great people, but you know, they really would like
They want
lunch.
T-shirts and stuff.
They would really like, you know, bottles of water, sunscreen, because we are in Florida. You don't want anybody getting burnt and
You're
getting
right. You're
exposed to
absolutely right.
skin cancer. You need pens, you need clipboards, you need paper, you need to, there's no getting around. Even if the other side doesn't raise any money, there's no getting around. You have to spend money
Without a
during an
doubt.
election.
We'll have to solve that on another broadcast.
Oh no, we up already?
We've ran out of time.
we
Councilwoman
didn't even get
Montelione,
to some
I
things.
really enjoy you, and I want to tell you, you're welcome to come back anytime. There's always something to talk about with you, and I just love the passion you put into things.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's really
appreciate
great.
it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Bill Hodges. This is Spotlight on Government. You're unique, you're special, and you're great. Tell yourself so often, because you are, you know, and we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government. And again, Councilwoman Montelione, thank you so much for being here with me.